Theron Sanai. In the last sermon, we talked about a treasure. You all have that treasure. You all have that treasure. But where? That's the problem. Where did you build your treasure? If you store up for yourself treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and thieves break in and steal, what will happen to them? Finally, you won't have anything. Therefore, don't store there on the earth or on earth. Store heaven. Store in heaven. Store your treasure in heaven. That's what Jesus Christ said. But we didn't know that. Because we didn't go to spiritual leaders, spiritual teachers. When we were vexed, we always went to people who have been vexed for eons. Those are the people who were available at that time, who were available. Therefore, we had to associate with them. We went to them and we asked for advice, and finally we got that advice, and they said that we need to store up treasures on earth. Therefore, we all got a good education and we all started earning money. Now you have a plenty of money. Therefore, you can say that you are very rich and you are well educated, you are well off, you have a good family, and you have everything you want. That's how you think. But the problem is, with all these things, you have a fear as well, because you know that it will be destroyed one day. It's not permanent, you know that. Therefore, now you are vexed, because you know that one day you will lose that. One day you will miss your family. One day you will lose your family. Therefore, now you have to live in hell. But you used your time, ladies and gentlemen, which means you used your life to store up this treasure. One day you will leave it and go. You will go. You will leave earth empty-handed. You will leave earth empty-handed. But you have spent your life and you have collected many things. You have acquired many things. But finally, you will die like a beggar. Everyone. That's okay. If you die like a beggar, that's okay, ladies and gentlemen, because everyone does that. But you will be born again like a beggar. After that, you will start acquiring things over and over again. Then again you will die. You can't stop this. That's the reason we should follow this religion. No, not sorry, this is not religion. That's the reason we should follow this philosophy. This is a philosophy. If you can follow that, you can win death. You can win birth. You can win vexation, suffering. You can conquer them. This is the only way you can conquer them. To do so, you need to listen to people who have understood the Dhamma. But if you listen to normal people who haven't understood the Dhamma, who haven't seen the Dhamma, who haven't seen the truth, then they will tell you the same. Then you will do the same. And you will gather, you will acquire. And finally, you will think that you have everything, but you won't have anything. Therefore, let's try to store up something in heaven. When we were walking to the Dhamma hall, one of our Kenyan sons held the umbrella. Then I was talking to him. I told him that, son, this is not a religion we follow. If you want, you can think that I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Hindu. We only follow the truth. Perhaps they think that, do we disobey God? Perhaps they think that. Why? Why do you? Actually, if you don't understand the Dhamma, that means if you don't understand the truth, whenever I say the Dhamma, that's the truth. That's the Pali word for the truth or righteousness. If you don't understand the Dhamma, which means if you are not righteous, you betray God. Because God is the truth. If God is the truth, you betray God. Perhaps you worship. God means there are many gods. In Islam, there is a God, I would say, because perhaps the same God, I don't know. In Hinduism, there are many gods, there is a God again. But I think that's actually everyone is talking about the truth. Therefore, if you don't understand the truth and if you are not righteous, then you betray God. That's why you are punished. You have been punished and you will be punished. That's why you suffer. That's why you are vexed. You can't come out of that. You can't stop that because you are disobeying God. To obey God, you need to understand the truth. Then actually you don't have to obey or disobey, then you will be God. If the truth is within you, then you are God. Like you are nature. But right now, you think that you are a part of nature. That means you have to obey God or you have to disobey God. But when you practice the path, when you see the truth, and when you practice, then you will become nature, which means you will become the truth. When you become the truth, then you are God. I'm not talking about Almighty God. That means the creator or destroyer. But you can stop birth if you want. You can continue birth if you want. You can do whatever you want. When you understand the truth, you can get what you want. You can acquire what you want, ladies and gentlemen. If you know the truth. Give and it will be given to you. That's the truth. That's one of the truths. Then if you know that, then start giving, then you will get more. You don't have to pray. You have to give. If you want more, give. If you want to attain Nibbana, then give Nibbana. Help others to understand the Dhamma. then you will get more. That's the way. Therefore, we all must follow the path, ladies and gentlemen. There is a path. If we can follow the path, then definitely we will win. Whether we are Christians, or we are Buddhists, or we are Hindus. Actually, I really want to talk to human beings. If I can talk to animals, I would. But the problem is, they can't understand. They can't change their views. They already lost the battle. But one day they will win the war, but they already lost the battle. But you can still win the battle. Perhaps the war as well. If you try, you will win the war. There is a method. There is a way. We need to learn that. Then we were talking about heaven, the kingdom of heaven. This is the kingdom of heaven. Last time, I think many times we were talking about this, and now, Rupa Vedana, Sanya Sankara Vijnana. This is the kingdom of heaven. You can see, when you are in this state, you won't suffer, you won't be vexed. You will only perceive things. You will act, you will speak, and you will perceive things. These are the things you do. Apart from that, you feel yourself, your existence. That's not what happens here. It happens there, ego. When the ego forms, you feel your existence. That means the mind feels an existence. The mind feels an entity. Not you. When the mind feels an entity, then the mind thinks that it's I or you. That's the reason. Now in this case you can see the ego is a process. To be happy or to perceive anything, to live, you only need this. To perceive, you only need this. To live, you only need this. To talk, you only need this. To walk, to act, you only need this. To feed your children, you only need this. To look after your children, you only need this. You don't need this, ladies and gentlemen. But this is created. This manifests. Because of this, you suffer. Because due to ignorance and attachment, this manifests. There is a process. If we can eradicate that process, then you will perceive things and you will be happy forever. You won't be vexed anymore. Then you don't have to do any unnecessary things, ladies and gentlemen. But right now you have to do all these things. I think your money is not enough. You have to earn more. You have to earn more. Your money is not enough. If you are young, yes, you can't. You can't stop. You have to earn more. Because you think that you will live another 70 years if you are in your 30s. You think that you have another 70 years. Then you have to save money for 70 years. You know that you will have many wantings. Then somehow you need to come out of vexation, because you know that when wanting occurs, the mind is vexed, then you need to do something to come out of vexation. You know the theory now. Therefore, you have experienced this. Therefore, you always try to acquire something and put into your safe. You have to do that, ladies and gentlemen. Either you need to come out of this, or either you need to eradicate this. Otherwise, you need to acquire many things and keep it with you. One day it will be come in handy. Definitely. That's why you have collected many things. That's why you have a truckload of money. Perhaps it's not enough. Your parents saved a lot of money for you, and you are going to do the same. It won't be enough. Because you will have many wantings. Because you are open to many views. You are ready to take many views. Because you know that one day you will be happy. To make yourself happy, you are going to take many views. When someone wears a smile on his face and tells something, you believe it. Because you think that now he is happy, that means he found happiness, then I'm going to listen to him. If I talk to you with a sad face, you never listen to me or you never believe me. But if I keep smiling, then you will believe me. Oh, this monk is always happy because he is always smiling. Then you believe me. And perhaps you listen to me because you want to be happy. That's the reason. But in this case, perhaps it is okay. One day you will be happy. Actually, not you will be happy. Right now also you are happy, ladies and gentlemen, but you can't feel it. Because you have the kingdom of heaven, you don't have to create it. Actually, you can't create it. You can't create the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within you. You don't have to create it, but you have to eradicate the other part. Hell. This is a hell, then you have to eradicate that part. Or in Buddhist terms, this is the Buddha and this is the Mara. Then you have to eradicate the Mara. Mara is a process. The Buddha is within you. You don't have to do anything. You can't create a Buddha. Buddha is within you. Not only in you, ladies and gentlemen. It is in animals as well. But they are suffering. They are born to suffer. Why did I say that? They are born to suffer. Perhaps you also. If you don't do anything to this, then you are also born to suffer. Or you were, or you are. I'm talking about as a general term. You are born to suffer. If you don't eradicate this, you will suffer until your death. Then after that, you will be born again. After that. What will happen after that? You won't only have this. Because if you have a mind, if you will be born with a mind, ignorance and attachment will be there. Because of that, this process will occur. If this process occurs, then you will suffer. Because the ego exists, the ego manifests, then you will suffer. But the Buddha is within you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Try to see that, ladies and gentlemen. Try to see that. It is within you. Therefore, let's try to eradicate this part. To eradicate this part, we need to understand the truth. Because this is created due to ignorance. That means if we don't understand the truth, if we are not the truth, then we are ignorance. If you are not the Buddha, you are the Mara. That's so simple. If you are the Mara, you suffer. If you are the Buddha, you are happy. The choice is yours. But if you really want to experience the Buddha within you, then you need to eradicate Mara. If you have to eradicate the Mara, then you have to be enlightened. You can't have enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen. You have to be enlightened. That means actually you will be the enlightenment, which means you will be the truth. You will be nature. You will be the truth. You will be righteous. This is the key. We need to eradicate that. That's why the Buddha taught us a method. We have that method. But if you really want to experience the Buddha, you just can't start meditating. That's okay for you to meditate, but what do you know to meditate? First you think that, then we can inhale, exhale, we can do that, and because we have that, then can't we attain Nibbana by doing that? This is not the first time you do that. You have done it 1 billion times in your samsaric journey, but you didn't achieve anything. You can concentrate your mind if you want. You can concentrate your mind into this if you want. Or you can concentrate your mind to your breath. You can do that. But that doesn't bring you happiness. Because that's not the truth. Therefore, you need to find out the truth. The truth is anicca, dukkha, anatta. That is the righteousness. If you talk about righteousness, that is righteousness, ladies and gentlemen. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Because it can be applied to anything in this world. It explains everything. It explains everything. That is the absolute truth in the world. It is not relative. But gravitational force, gravitational energy, that is relative. But this is not relative. This is absolute. You can apply this, anicca, dukkha, anatta, you can apply this to anything and everything. Let's apply that. But first of all, you should know, why do we learn this and why do we apply this? The reason is the ego. If you have understood that ego is your enemy, if you have understood that the ego is the enemy, then you should be ready to eradicate that. But if you have understood that your neighbor, your relatives or your friends are your enemies, then let's do something else. Well, I don't know what to do, but you will find, you are very keen on that. Because that's what we have been doing. Can't you remember? When we were vexed, we blamed everyone. Can't you remember that? We thought that because of their fault, I'm suffering. That's how you thought. We all thought like that. Until we found the truth. When we found the truth, we know that the ego, when the ego manifests, the ego wants a drama. It creates a drama. Because it's a character now. Otherwise, it's a process of energy. It's not a character. It's a process of energy. Like you. This is only a process of energy. You can find a person here, but the ego creates a character. Now you are a character. You are the daughter. You are the mother. You are the son. You are the brother. You are the sister. And now you have a character. Perhaps you are the doctor. You are a doctor because there are some other doctors as well. Therefore, you are a doctor. Now, this is the drama. Now you have to act like a doctor. That's why you all act, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, this is acting. The ego can act perfectly. No one can believe that you are acting. Don't you feel that you are a human being? Don't you feel that you are a human being? Are you? Prove. Bring me your proof. Do you have any proofs? No. You don't have any proofs. But you feel that you feel and you experience that you are a human being. Luckily, you feel that you are a human being. One day, perhaps, you will feel that you are an animal. Then you will behave like an animal. To behave like an animal, you need to learn. You need to learn. Can't you remember in our childhood, we acted like elephants? Doing this. Can't you remember that? Yes. At that time, we were elephants. Because we have seen elephants, when we thought that those are elephants, are they? The ego has created all these names, ladies and gentlemen. The ego has created. Otherwise, there is a body and the process of the mind and the process of defilements. Other than that, you can't find anything. You can't find anything in your body or wherever. You can't find anything apart from that. But you can identify elephants. Then you think, oh, these are elephants, these are camels, rabbits. You can see them, and you can actually you think that there is an elephant, the big one in that body. When an elephant dies, that big thing, not the body I'm talking about, in the body there was an elephant, like big one. Perhaps exactly like size of the size of the body, and that elephant comes out from the body. That's the spirit. That's how people think. But there is no such thing called spirit, ladies and gentlemen. In your body, or I would say in you, in the term you, there are three things. The body, then the process of the mind, and the process of the defilement. Process of the mind and process of defilements, that's it. Apart from that, you can't find anything. If you take an ant, there is a body. The process of the mind. We can't say the mind. It's a process. It occurs every time. It is not fixed. You can't say that it has been there. It is created every time. It is created every time. Now in this case, you have this part, the ego. What did I write? M? Mistakenly? What is that? It's process. No. Process of defilements. Now process of defilements and process of the mind and the body. If you take an ant, you can find the body, the process of the mind, and the process of defilement. Now in this case, you can see if the process of the mind is the kingdom of heaven, can't you find the kingdom of heaven in rabbits? They are also in there, ladies and gentlemen. But the problem is this, the ego. The ego manifests due to the process of defilement. Therefore, they can't feel the kingdom of heaven. They can't feel Nibbana. Otherwise, they are also the Buddha. And no one can believe that. If you say that there is the Buddha in a rabbit, no one can believe that. No one can believe that because they can't see the truth. If they can see the truth, they will believe it. But the problem is, they will suffer forever until they leave that body. Leave that body means until they change that mindset and become a human being or God, Brahma, whoever. If they can come to a blissful plane, then they can start thinking about this. But still they have the Buddha within them. You have the Buddha within them. You can purify your mind, which means you can eradicate the ego. When you think about others, take this. Use this and see. Then you will see something, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, you will see a human being or you will see an entity due to ignorance and attachment. Due to ignorance and attachment, the ego is created within you, then you will see another human being or another creature in others. When you see me, you see a human being here, but there is no such thing as a human being here. What you can see is the body. Then you can't see the mind, and you can't see defilements. You can see the body. But the body is moving. Therefore you think that this is still alive. Then you believe that this is an entity. Then you need a face to recognize. You can't use this. Therefore you use this. Therefore you think that this is the creature. This is the being. Because the ego wants to identify these things. When the ego forms, it feels that it's an entity. Then if it is an entity, it needs the identification. If something is an entity, we have to give an identity to that. Therefore, now you have an identity. Perhaps that's your face. Therefore, you protect this face to protect your identity. If something happens to your face, then you will lose your identity. That's why you love your face so much, because that identifies you. If it changes, you can't tolerate it. If your arm is wounded, then you are okay with that. You will apply some medicine and then you will treat it. But if something happened to your face, you feel terrible, ladies and gentlemen. Why do you love your face so much? Because that's you. That's how the ego thinks. That's why when you are getting older, you feel that you are an old person. I know that you can't tolerate it. You don't like it. You want to be young. Perhaps you will find medicines. You will buy medicines to stop aging because you don't like it. When you go to the mirror, you always see that. You can't tolerate it. That's why you apply some cream to stop that. For how long will you do this? One day you will be fed up and you will leave it. Because at that time perhaps you had to apply 100 milligrams once to take the young look you wanted. Then you will give up. But still you will suffer. Because the ego forms and it needs the identity. Then it takes the body as its identity. then it feels that it's old now. But you don't have to be old, ladies and gentlemen. Because the mind is brand new. As I told you last time, I can make you younger forever. How much are you willing to pay? For your creams? For your makeup set? You pay a lot. And often you go to a beauty parlor, you try to maintain your face, especially your face. But I can make you young forever. How much money are you willing to pay? And how much time are you going to give? Actually, you go to a beauty parlor because you are vexed, ladies and gentlemen. When you see this face, not this face, when you see this face, actually you can't tolerate, because you can remember when you were young, you were so beautiful. Can you imagine that? If you had this face, I'm talking about people are over 40s, 50s. If you had this face in your 20s, would your husband marry you? No. He thought that you will have the same face. But now, when he looks at you, perhaps he's also vexed, ladies and gentlemen, but there's a certificate. That's why you got that certificate first of all. Marriage certificate? You got that. That's your protection. I'm talking to ladies, or gentlemen as well. That depends. You got that. Therefore, now no one can leave, especially in Asian countries. It's not easy for you to take divorce. Take your divorce. It's not easy for you to take that, especially in Asian countries. Actually, that became a protection. Because you are vexed. If you can't see your face, how can the other person can see your face? If you are vexed when you see your face, just imagine that. But you have to tolerate this anyhow. You have to tolerate this because you don't have a solution for that. Because the body is aging. You can't stop that. The problem is, your mind is vexed. When you see that, your mind is vexed. The reason is, when the ego forms, the ego needs the identity, then the ego has the past, present and the future. Therefore, the ego can remember your past phase. Ego can remember that. When it wants its identity, now it has to identify with this face. Therefore, it doesn't like it. It doesn't like it, but that is the only thing it has, therefore it identifies with it. You will suffer even more. When you are ill, you will suffer even more. Because now the ego has to identify with a weak body which has illnesses. But can you take a break until the body will be cured? No. It manifests and it needs the identity. At the same time, it needs the identity. Therefore, we need to do something to the ego if we want to be happy. Otherwise, you will be vexed forever. That's why it doesn't matter how much money you have, ladies and gentlemen. That's not the problem. You can earn a lot, but you can't be happy. I can prove you that. Whatever you have doesn't make you happy. I can prove you that. 1,000 times I can prove you that. It is actually 1,000% truth. If you can see the reason, you will be agree with me. Try to see the reason. We need money to supply the 4 requisites. Yeah. We need them, therefore we need money. I don't want to condemn that. We need that. But if we are talking about happiness, then this is the problem. If the ego is created, you can't be happy. Because it needs the identity. If you lose your all limbs, you don't have your arms, you don't have your legs, even that's your body. When the ego forms, the ego will be identified with that body. Can you imagine that? Try to imagine it, ladies and gentlemen. You lost your arms and legs, and you are on a bed and you can't even move anything, you can't take anything, you can't touch anything. But still, the ego forms. When the ego manifests, then the ego will be identified with that body. Will it be happy? One day if your body is paralyzed, can the ego choose another body, very strong one, to be identified with? No, because this is the only body it has to be identified with. Therefore, it will be identified with that body. And at that time, the ego realizes that I am paralyzed. But this is the mind, ladies and gentlemen. How the mind can be paralyzed. But after this happens, the mind thinks that it's paralyzed. I can't walk. I don't have limbs. Perhaps I'm poor. I'm ill. This is not ill. This is not poor. This is not uneducated. This is the most sacred thing in the world. The purest thing in the world. This is the purest thing in the world, ladies and gentlemen. But because of the ego, it became an entity, and it became a body perhaps, a man, a woman. Now it suffers. But the thing is, actually I want you to understand this, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to understand the difference between this and this. This is the ego. It doesn't do anything other than making you suffer. Just imagine this. The mind does everything. Kaya sankara, which means when you use your body, the mind has to do kaya sankara. The mind has to do kaya sankara and send that message to the brain. Then the brain sends signals to our muscles, then we act. That means the mind does kaya sankara. This is a machine. When the brain gets the message, then brain sends signals and the body acts. Then Kaya Sankara is done by the mind. When we talk, we have to create patterns. We have to create words. Words is a pattern, notation. We have to create that notation. When we create a notation, we need Vachi Sankara. Vachi Sankara is done by the mind. The ego can't do anything. The ego is only, it's a conceptual being. It is created due to defilements. This can't do anything. This is only a thought, ladies and gentlemen. This is only a thought. A thought can't do anything. The mind does everything. Therefore, when you want to talk, the mind creates notations, which means words, and again it sends those signals to the brain. Then the brain move your mouth, your tongue, and etc. Then finally a vibration comes out from the mouth. Then a sound is created in your mind. This is how you talk. In order to talk, you need the mind, your brain, and your body. You don't need the ego. To think. To think means to perceive things. That's the sixth one. Now if you are talking about thinking, it's the sixth one. Seeing is the first one. That's called Manosankar. To perceive something, you need Manosankar. Manosankar is done by the mind. Then this is useless, but it is created. It makes you suffer. Then why don't you eradicate that? When you have cancer, you try to eradicate that. Why? Why do you want to eradicate cancer? Because it's useless. That's the reason. It's useless. If it is useless, you try to eradicate that. If it is harmful, then you will do that with no time. But this is harmful. This is more harmful than cancer, ladies and gentlemen. That's the reason we try to eradicate this. Therefore, I want you to see the reason and I want you to work out. This is called salvation. Then I want you to work out your salvation by seeing this and this. You need to identify these two and you need to understand these two. Then you should decide what to be erased. There is no point in erasing this. This doesn't harm you. You only need this. To protect your family, to run your family, you only need this. Because of this, you only suffer. Because of this, you are an actor now. Now you have to act. You have to cry. You have all the emotions. You can become emotional. And you can become an emotional mother, an emotional father, an emotional sibling. You can do that with this. That's how you can fulfill your drama. I'm sorry to say these things, but this is how it is. You always create a drama and you live in there. You need to protect your character. You always protect your character, ladies and gentlemen. Just think about your life, then you will see that. When someone insults your character, what would you do? You can't tolerate that because actually you became that character. You are that character. You are not acting. Finally, you forgot. Initially, you had to act, but now you became that character, and now if someone insults, then you can't tolerate it. Then you fight. You fight them, ladies and gentlemen, and you try to destroy them because you can't tolerate that insult. Now you can see this is useless and harmful, but still it's within you. It is created right now as well. Therefore, if you do something, if you really want to do something, the only thing you can do is wiping this out. That's it. This is the only job you have. But you think that your job is protecting your family and run the society. That's how you always feel, because you want to be, or you want to be your character, and you want to see the drama. If we all try to do this, one day we can eradicate the ego from the universe. But it never happens. It never happens. It's really difficult to do. But if we all try, we can eradicate this, at least from our minds. That's why I always ask you to take this decision. This is the only thing you can do to make yourself happy. This is the only way you can be happy. Right. Then if you have understood that, then let's talk about ignorance and the truth. I told you that you have to be righteous. Righteousness is very important. You have to be righteous. Jesus Christ said you have to be righteous. And the Buddha said you have to find the truth, and you have to follow the truth finally. Then the truth, righteousness, everything is the same. But what is the truth? Then the truth must be universal. The truth must be universal, and truth must be absolute. Then we can't talk about the gravity, because Earth has a different gravitational force. The moon has a different gravitational force. It is relative. But anicca is applied everywhere. Everywhere in the universe, anicca is applied. That means the theory of cause and effect. Try to think about that. The theory of cause and effect. When causes come together, an effect manifests. This word is very important. An effect manifests. Manifest means it's not fixed. Due to causes, it manifests. Like 10. Due to causes, 10 manifests. Because I didn't write 10. Due to causes, it manifests. What do you have in there? Only 1 and 0. You don't have 10 here, but 10 manifest. If you take your body, due to atoms, a body manifests. It has only atoms, nothing but atoms. If you take all the atoms from your body, nothing will be left. It's a manifestation. Then let's talk about Earth. Let's talk about the moon. Let's talk about the sun, all the stars, all the universe. Due to atoms. atoms come together and the universe manifests. Actually, it happens right now as well, ladies and gentlemen. Don't ever think that your body is fixed. Your body is not fixed. Your body is being manifested, being manifested. This is not fixed. And this is not still. It's moving. Can you feel that movement? You can't feel that. But it's moving. It's vibrating. It shares energy. Have you learned about electrons, ladies and gentlemen? An electron is not a fixed object. It's a cloud. Negatively charged cloud. That means it's like this. And somewhere scientists can find condensed area. A condensed area. That's electron. Near this area, some other particles means particles that create electron is there or are there. This is electron, but this is not. This is the condensed part. This is the condensed part, but this is not the electron. Electron is this. It's a cloud. In this case, energy transfers from here to there. In this case, we can say that an electron is a condensed lump of energy. But it's not fixed. It's in equilibrium, but it's not in static equilibrium. It's in dynamic equilibrium. That means changing. Energy is absorbed and energy is released. You may have learnt about this, E equals mc squared. Let's assume that this is true. Then we can see that energy converts to mass and mass converts to energy. This happens here. In this condensed part, that is called mass. In outer space, that's energy. In that case, you can see energy converts to mass and mass converts to energy. That's how an electron manifests. That's why actually it's a manifestation. You can't find a fixed electron. It's only a manifestation. It's not fixed. If an electron is a manifestation, what about a proton? It's also the same. What about the neutron then? What about a neutron? It's also the same. Now in this case you can see an atom is a manifestation. It always converts energy to mass and mass to energy. Therefore, actually, your body is made up of atoms. Your body shares energy to the environment and it absorbs energy from the environment. This is not fixed, ladies and gentlemen, but the ego thinks that this is fixed and this is my body. That's how the ego thinks, because the ego doesn't know about the truth. If the ego knows about the truth, that's its final day, that's his final moment. Enlightenment is the enemy of the ego, ladies and gentlemen, because the father of the ego is ignorance. The mother of the ego is attachment. When the mind is enlightened, there is no space, no environment for the ego to be created. Let's apply anicca. Now I applied anicca into your body. Apply it into this pen. This is also made up of electrons, protons and neutrons. If electrons are not fixed, if protons and neutrons are not fixed, this is not fixed. This is also only a manifestation. Try to see these things as a manifestation, ladies and gentlemen. That means if you remove all the causes, you won't see or you won't experience any effect. Apply that into your body and your house and whatever you do, you can apply. If when you write ego, did I write ego? Now you can see that ego itself manifests. The word manifests. Because you can't write ego, you only can write ego, then ego manifests. You can only add causes. Then the effect manifests. Everything is a manifestation. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is fixed, therefore nothing is impermanent or permanent. That's very popular in Buddhism. Impermanent. Nothing is impermanent in this world. To be impermanent, you should have fixed objects. Then you can see it decays. If your body is a manifestation, how can it be decaying, ladies and gentlemen? It doesn't decay. It manifests. What do you think about that? You had a young face, now perhaps you have an old face. Then you may think that my body has been decaying or my body has been aging. No. Actually, it manifests. It is created. It manifests right now. Let's assume that someone is in his 90s. Don't ever think that his body is aging. Actually, what happens is, his body manifests. Your body manifests. You can't believe this. You will believe this when you understand the theory of cause and effect. Nothing is decaying, ladies and gentlemen. Everything manifests. In order to decay, There should be there should be a fixed object. Nothing is fixed. If everything is a manifestation, how can it decay? How can it decompose? Let's take a dead body. Now you can see that the dead body is decaying. It's not decaying. It manifests. The number 10, this doesn't decay, ladies and gentlemen. It manifests. Right now, it manifests. Perhaps it will fade away. Then when you see that, then you may think that, oh, this will fade away. That means it's decaying, or it's not permanent. But the number 10 wasn't fixed to decay. It was a manifestation. Therefore, each time it manifests. But perhaps you will see that it fades away. You will see that because that manifestation, or when the manifestation occurs, its causes are weak now. But still, it manifests. But causes are weak. Your body, when you are in your 90s, your body still manifests, but causes are weak. It wasn't fixed. It manifests. Can you understand that? But you have seen children become adults. Adults become elderly. They become corpse. They become rotten something. They become soil. Then you think that children or a child becomes an adult. A child becomes an adult. But that's wrong. A child, which means actually what you have seen was the body. You saw the body. Body converts to adult's body. That's what you saw. But the body was a manifestation. The child's body was a manifestation. You can't transform it. It was a manifestation. This is 10. You can't transform this to 100. This is 10. It's a manifestation. It's not fixed. If it is fixed, you can add another 0 and convert that to 100. But this wasn't fixed, ladies and gentlemen. This was a manifestation. Therefore, when you add another 0, now 100, the number 100 manifests. Therefore, you can't say that the number 10 converts to the number 100. You can't convert anything. You can only let it manifest. Think about it. A small child, an adult, senior citizen. Now here you can see, here a toddler. I don't know how to draw. This is not a mouse. What is this? Let's leave the mindless and children, because we can't see the mind, we can't see all the defilements, we can't see the ego, therefore let's leave that, but we can see the body. Let's talk about anicca by using the body. Now in this case, you can see this is a toddler or baby, whoever, whatever the name you use. Now, this body is made up of atoms. Let's assume that this has 10 atoms. Let's assume that. 10 atoms. Using these 10 atoms, this body manifests. If you take all these atoms out, then nothing will remain here. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Let's feed it. It means him or her or. Let's feed him. That means you put more atoms into his stomach, which means nutrition, which means protein, carbohydrate, lipids, vitamins, minerals. You add all these things. Then another body manifests. Don't think that this is converted to this. This is a manifestation, and this is also a manifestation. It's like this. When you add another 0, 10 didn't convert to 100. What happened is, 10 was a manifestation, and 100 is also a manifestation. Then, let's add another 100. That means let's feed it. Let's feed the body. Let's put more atoms, more amino acids, which means more protein, more carbohydrate, which means we add more atoms into that. When we add more atoms, then another manifestation occurs. That's that. You can't think that this is or this manifests from this. But when we talk about the word manifestation, you can't talk about the past. Because manifestation means it's not fixed. If we use two causes and an effect, that effect is not the third. It's only those two causes. It's only a manifestation. Therefore, now 100 atoms are there. Then if you put more, if you times it by 10, that means you put more carbohydrates, lipids, proteins into this, then you will have another body. This is also a manifestation. Then, this body. Still you have to feed this body. Still it is a manifestation. But now it's weak. Bonds are weak. When we talk about atoms, we have to talk about bonds. Now here, bonds are weak. But this is also a manifestation. Therefore, don't ever think that this body is aging. This body is perhaps decaying. Don't ever think that. It's not decaying. This is only a manifestation. Then when it comes to this, now this is a dead body. That is also a manifestation. Because here you didn't have worms. But here you have worms. You have pus. It's a manifestation. Then if you can understand anicca, the ego won't be created. Because the ego has a problem. Aging, illnesses, death, suffering, all these things. But when you understand the Dhamma, you can see that aging is impossible. But if you perceive these things in your ignorant mind, you will see aging. When the ego manifests, the ego thinks that, when the ego manifests, it will be identified with that body, and it thinks that I'm aging, I'm decaying, I'm becoming old. That's how the mind becomes vexed. If you can apply the truth, then the ego doesn't manifest. Now let's talk about ego. Let's apply anicca to ego. We can see that the ego is not fixed. It has a process. Due to this process, the ego manifests. It's also a manifestation. That's why when the ego manifests, it disappears. You don't have to remove it. When causes come together and effect manifest, if causes are not there, it doesn't manifest anymore. We can't say that it is eradicated, or we can't say that it is wiped out. We can't say that, because when causes are there, something manifests. Try to understand that part. When causes are there, something manifests. When causes are not there, that manifestation ceases. The process occurs and the process ceases. This is a process. All the atoms come together and it is active. This is not dead. This is active. This is made up of atoms. Therefore, this is active, ladies and gentlemen. This is not dead. It absorbs energy. It releases energy. And it is in a dynamic equilibrium. This is a manifestation. If you apply energy into this, it manifests a different thing. Then you think that it converts, it transformed to another thing. Because you always feel that this is an entity, this is fixed. Because the mind is ignorant right now. If the mind is ignorant, it perceives this as a fixed object. Therefore, when you apply energy, because this is full of energy, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, this is energy. You can take all the energy out from this. Condensed energy. An electron is condensed energy. A proton is condensed energy. Therefore, this is condensed energy. If we take all the energy, if you take all energy out of this, then nothing remains. Therefore, when you apply some energy into that, this is already energy. Then if you apply more energy into this, this is made up of energy. Now let's say like that. This is made up of energy. If this is made up of energy, and if it is not fixed, if it is only a manifestation, and if you put more energy into this, what will happen to this? It manifests something different to this. This was a manifestation, and it had 10 units of energy, and you apply more energy into that. Now it's 15 units of energy. 15 units of energy has a different name and different shape and different characteristics. This is 10 units of energy. Now it has a different name. It's like protein, ladies and gentlemen. It's like protein. Let's say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Let's assume that. Now, these are amino acids. Proteins are made up of amino acids. You all know that. A, B, C, D, E. This is one protein. This is a protein. A, C, D, B, E. This is another protein. You can eat this and make this. How? When you eat this in your stomach and your intestines, these things are broken into amino acids and reset into some other proteins. This is a manifestation. You can't say that this converts to this. This is a manifestation and this is a manifestation. Then, if this is energy, 10 units of energy, if we apply more energy into this, then it has 20 units of energy. If this is 20 units of energy, this is not, or this doesn't have those characteristics anymore, because it became a different one. Ten units, it has different characteristics. A, B, C, D, E, it has different characteristics. A, D, C, B, E, it has different characteristics. This is a manifestation, this is also a manifestation. You can add more into this and create different characteristics. Sodium chloride, this is a manifestation. We can separate them. This is a manifestation. Then if you want, you can add oxygen into this. This is not sodium chloride anymore. And sodium chloride didn't convert to this. This is a new manifestation. We have 3 here. Now we had another 2 oxygen atoms. Now in this case, this is another manifestation. We can't say that sodium has been converted to this. We can't say that. This is a new manifestation. Therefore, whatever you take, it's a manifestation. Try to understand that bit. If you can understand that, you can understand anicca. That means the truth of nature. That is one truth. There are 3. If you can understand that, you can understand the other 2 very easily. If you want, you can understand dukkha. If you want, you can understand anatta. You just need to understand only one. When you understand that, whatever you want to understand, then you can understand other 2 easily. Anicca is easier for you to understand. You can apply that into your body because you are well educated, ladies and gentlemen. You have learnt all these things. One day, I will explain entire universe if you want with the truth, with anicca. All the energy changes. These planets, moons, the sun, those stars, entire universe. We can understand all these things with this. Because this is universal. This is the only thing which is universal, ladies and gentlemen. But in physics, chemistry, we have learned many universal constants. But everything is relative. If something is absolute, anicca, dukkha, anatta, these are absolute truth. You can prove it to yourself if you want. Actually, I want you to prove it to yourself. Then if you have learned this, now I want you to apply it. Apply into these things. If you know chemistry, apply into the chemical formula. Take a chemical formula and apply into that. Then you will see. If you don't know chemistry, let's assume that you are not educated, that's fine. Then let's make a curry. Whatever. Apply that. But the problem is, when you make something, and if the mind is ignorant, the mind makes everything fixed at the same time. That means, I want to write 1000, the number 1000, I want to write. Can you let me finish this without judging? Okay? Can you do that? Try. I'm going to write the number 1000. Can you let me finish it? Don't judge. Okay? I can read your mind. I can read your mind. Then you say 1. You judged. Then, when I write another 0 here, then you think that, 1 became 10. No. 1 was a manifestation. Now, 10 is a manifestation. But if you judge before I write, you always judge because the ego judges. Because the ego has, the ego believes the past, the present, and the future. Therefore, when I write 1, it judges. And when I put another 0 here, now it thinks that, because it can remember its past, because it thinks that that's its past. Therefore, the ego thinks that 1 was there and we added another 0. Therefore, now the ego thinks that 1 became 10. That's the reason. That's why you can't experience anicca until you contemplate it. Within a second, 1 billion minds or 1 billion processes of the mind is created, is manifests. 1 billion perhaps. With all these processes, this process is also occurred. Therefore, you can't stop yourself. You always judge. When I write 1, and when you perceive 1, there were 1 billion minds. Therefore, when I write 1, let me write 1, okay? I'm going to write 1 from here to here, but it takes time. Let me write it, but don't judge. Okay? One. Didn't you judge? From here to here is 1. Then here to here is another. That means I added another part. That's how you feel. Because when you perceive this, the ego manifests, and the ego made it fixed. After that, when I add another one, that's new. Then you think that this was there and Guru Handru added another piece into this. This is how you always perceive, due to ignorance and attachment. That's why you don't see anicca. You only see nicca. You see things fixed, and you believe everything is fixed. Therefore, conversions occurs. That's how you believe. Your body converts. Let's apply anicca, ladies and gentlemen. I can show you 1,000 examples. Let's apply anicca. You need to practice. I have understood this. Therefore, I can apply this into 1,000 things. But you need to apply. You need to apply, and you will be able to apply to everything. Then you will see that the entire universe is a manifestation. If it is a manifestation, what about the time? If something is a manifestation, What about its past? Can we talk about the past? No. What about the future? If it is a manifestation, then what about the present? Now you can say that. If something is a manifestation, it is free from or of time. That's why the Buddha said, everything is akalika. Everything is akalic in this world, in this universe. Nature is akalika. You are akalika. Time is not applicable to your body. But you are talking about aging, because you experience it due to the ego. Your problems will be sorted, ladies and gentlemen. You just need to follow only one thing. Let's be enlightened. Again, I had to say this. You have to do that. You have to do that. We are here to show you the path. We can preach to you until you realize, until you understand this. But you need to understand this and you need to practice. Because when I teach you this, you have anicca, but that's not enough. It's like you have your properties. That's not enough, because you are not your properties. Aren't you? Are you? You are not property. You are not your properties, ladies and gentlemen. You have properties. Then you have anicca. Now you have anicca. It's not enough. You have to be anicca. That's the realization. Then when you be anicca, you are enlightened. Then you need to practice the path until you be anicca. You be anicca means your mind will realize it fully. Then your mind will act accordingly with the Dhamma, with the truth. Then it will be free from suffering and vexation. Because the ego won't manifest anymore. Therefore, you need to practice. Try to be anicca. Now I add something to dukkha. Let's talk about dukkha then. But you all know that dukkha is not suffering. The Buddha said a different meaning. Dukkha. Dukkha is not suffering. Dukkha is a compound. The meaning of dukkha is compound. In Pali, it is sambhuta. Sam means collection. Bhuta means manifest. That is manifestation. When causes come together, a sambhuta is created, which means a manifestation occurs. Everything is a dukkha. Let's tell in English. Everything is a manifestation. Then if you take a manifestation, that's dukkha. If you take a compound, it's dukkha. Anicca, dukkha, anatta, we need to understand that. But when we hear dukkha, suffering comes to our mind. That's how we used to learn. We heard that. We thought that because we knew we were suffering. Therefore, we thought that the Buddha talked about suffering. Now, the Buddha talked about the universal truth. The universal truth can't be suffering. The universal truth can't be vexation. Because the Buddha is not vexed. But the Buddha is also nature. The Buddha is also the universe. All arahants were not suffering. They were not vexed. But they were nature. They were the universe. Then, if suffering is, or if dukkha is suffering, it's not universal. The truth is universal, and truth must be universal. If everything is a compound, just imagine that. If everything is a compound, don't you agree? Tell me if you know any element. Tell me one element if you know. Sodium. It is not an element because it is made up of atoms. Sorry, subatomic particles. In chemistry, we use it as an element, but that is only for the periodic table. It is made up of subatomic particles. It's not an element. Nothing is an element in this world. If something is an element, it should be fixed. Nothing is an element. If you can find one element, please let me know. This is a compound. 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 This mind is a compound. This ego itself is a compound. But this foolish ego can't understand that. That's the problem. That's why we need the Buddha. That's why we need the Dhamma. That's why we need the Sangha. We need to associate the Noble Triple Gem, because this foolish, I don't use stupid, but it is, but I don't use that. This is the most foolish thing ever, because this can't understand that. Actually, it's fair. Why? This can't understand because this is not the Buddha. Only the Buddha can see universal truths. The universal truth. Only the Buddha can see that. Therefore, we need to learn from the Buddha. We need to inherit them from the Buddha. Then apply dukkha into your life. Apply dukkha into your hair. Apply dukkha into your teeth. Apply dukkha into your body. Apply dukkha into your mind, ego. You apply into everyone, everything. Then you will realize that everything is dukkha. When we say everything is dukkha, you don't have to cry. Do you want to cry? If everything is a compound, why do you cry then? Why do you have to cry if everything is a compound? You don't have to cry. Everything is a dukkha. Yes, everything is dukkha. Everything is dukkha. Everything is dukkha. You can tell this 1,000 times if you want. But you don't have to cry. You don't have to mourn in that sense. But in the other sense, you have to mourn because you couldn't understand that. Can you remember? Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. You should mourn. You should mourn because you haven't seen this. Because of that, the ego has been ruling your life, your very life. Therefore, you couldn't experience the life. You had a life, but this is the life. You couldn't experience that. Therefore, you should mourn. If you can mourn, you will be comforted. But if you can mourn, then you know that there is a mistake. Therefore, you need to do something. You should realize that. That's why you are blessed if you can mourn. I think mourning is not very simple, ladies and gentlemen. You can cry, but this mourning is very difficult for you to do. You need to understand. Then you can mourn. If you can mourn, you will be comforted. You will be comforted. Who's going to comfort you? Who will come to comfort you? Someone will come from heaven to comfort you? No, you will do that. Attahi attanonato kohinato parosya. You have to protect yourself. You have to save yourself. No one will come to save you. Don't ever think that you have your sons and daughters, you have your children, you have your properties, you have your servants, you have your money, and they will come and protect you. No, it never happened. You will die like a beggar. I'm sorry to say this, but this is the truth. If you can find out about lives of richest people, then you will see they died empty-handed. They died empty-handed, but a lot of money was in their bank account, but they died empty-handed. This is how it is. You will have your children around you, but you will die alone. Can you die with your children? Then what you have to do is, in your last breath, you need to shoot them and let them die with you. But you don't want to do that. But you think that, oh, I have them. I have my properties, I have my money, I have my children, then I don't have to worry, they will protect me. No. Nothing will protect you. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. You have spent more than half of your life. But better late than never. Therefore, you will still have time to think, ladies and gentlemen. If you die tomorrow, I would say, if you were to die tomorrow, like you won't die. Who will be there to protect you? They will have their life. That's it. They will have their life. They don't have to die with you. Then your chapter will be closed. That's it. We won't talk about you anymore. Now, I try to, perhaps I force you to do this. Because of compassion. I force you to do that. This is not the first time I tell you this, because I taught you anicca and dukkha. Now you need to apply it. Then I had to encourage you to apply this. Perhaps force you a little bit to do that. Otherwise you won't do that. But if you can mourn by understanding this, then you will encourage yourself to do that. That happened to me, ladies and gentlemen. No one was there to encourage me to come, me to practice the path. No one was there, because I was mourning. I saw this. I saw the truth, and I was destitute when I saw that, because I missed the life. And I had a life like a hell. But I had everything. I'm telling you. I had everything I wanted. But just think about that. Therefore, if you can understand this, you will mourn. Mourn. If you mourn, you will be comforted. You yourself will help you. And you yourself will strive when you understand this. Use your time wisely. Apply anicca, apply dukkha to everything, every time. While you are working, that's fine. While you are driving, while you are working in the kitchen, apply this. Because you can apply this to anything, because this is universal. Whatever the job you do, apply. When you cut vegetables, how do you apply this? Cutting means, what do you do by cutting? You apply energy, ladies and gentlemen. When you apply energy, a new manifestation occurs. That's why you see, you take a carrot and you cut it. That means you apply energy into that. Therefore now you have two pieces. But how do you experience it? How do you perceive it? There was a carrot and I cut it into two halves. That means that carrot converted into two pieces. That's how you thought, and that's how you perceive, because of the ego, which means because of ignorance. But now you can apply that. You can apply the theory of cause and effect into that. Then you will see that there is a carrot, which means there is a manifestation, which is made up of energy. This is an energy manifestation. Now you are going to apply more energy into that. Then you will have a different manifestation. That's why you see two pieces. Let's take garlic. Do we use just garlic? A pod of pod. Huh? A pod of garlic, okay. A small thing. Now let's take that and put into that, and you smash it. Then it converts to something different. That's how you experience. But that's not the truth. What happened? There was a pod of garlic. Now, that means it is made up of energy. It was an energy manifestation. Now you are going to smash, which means you are going to apply more energy. When you apply more energy, a new manifestation occurs. That's how you see a different manifestation. Don't think that pot of garlic converts to the new one. That's how you should apply anicca. When you are angry, perhaps you break chairs and ornaments. Then how do you do that? When your father gets angry, and he throws things and he breaks things, then apply anicca. How do we break this? We can't break this. But if we want to create another manifestation, apply energy. Therefore, you can't break anything. You can't break your arm. You can't break anything, ladies and gentlemen. You can only manifest things. Your arm is made up of energy. This is an energy manifestation. If you hit hardly, then what will happen? It will break. It will break. It will break means it doesn't break. What will happen? There will be a new manifestation. Perhaps two pieces. If you cut two pieces, Then when you cut meat, then you will see. When you cut vegetables, when you cut meat, when you smash things, when you hammer, each time you will see a different manifestation. But don't be deceived and think that it was a conversion. Nothing is conversion. You can't convert anything. You can't transform anything to anything. Try. If you won't try, then you will see. But the thing is, now I'm going to apply a force to break this. Then before that, I see this. When I see this, and if my mind is ignorant, then the mind perceives this as an entity, fixed thing. Then when I apply this, and this will break, and I will have two pieces, then again the mind perceives this as two pieces, which are fixed. Then the mind thinks that previous one broke into two parts. Now you can see, time is involved. You involve time into that, not you, actually the ego, the foolish ego applied time because it can't live without time. Time is the environment of the ego. When the ego manifests, time manifests. Therefore, time is applied. It was there, and now there are two parts. It was a pen, now two parts, two pieces. That's why you always use the past. But if you use anicca, you can't use past. If you can, try to use anicca and 3 times. The past, the present and the future. Try to use these two together. You won't be able to do that. When you work, please apply anicca. Then you will realize this. Then you will attain Nibbana gradually. But the problem is, we always invite you to come and join us because someone should be there to encourage you. Otherwise you don't do that. That's why you need an environment. And you all know this. To learn English, you need an immersive environment. Yes or no? Yes. Therefore, if you live in Australia, England, America, Canada, like English-speaking countries, then you will learn English properly. And you will learn it quickly. Because there you have an immersive environment. Then you believe that. And you teach that to your students. You ask them to create an immersive environment to learn English. Now let's talk about attaining Nibbana. Don't you need that immersive environment? Then you became a teacher for that. Now you are a student, why don't you listen? That's why. You need that immersive environment. You need someone to guide you. You have to see what other people do. Then you will be encouraged. Otherwise, you will be with worldly people, which means you will be with the ego and you will satisfy ego. You will satisfy the ego each time and you will ruin your life. Finally, you won't have anything and you will die. Until that means not until your death. Right? Until you can come here and associate with noble association, try to apply this on your own. You have to encourage yourself to do that. But it can be a fairy tale. Well, you want. I know that you want, because now you can, I will apply. But when you go home, you have 1,000 things to do. And you have easy path to come out of vexation. But this is eradication of vexation. But there you can come out of vexation easily. Whatever you want, you can achieve it, because perhaps you have money. And the technology is well established. Therefore, if you want anything, you can get it within 2 minutes. Therefore, you think that you have a happy life. I'm not saying that to understand the truth you should suffer. That means you should be poor and you should be destitute. You don't have to. You just need wisdom, which means to understand this, you should be intelligent. You don't need other things. You should be able to think. Because contemplation is very important. Learn and contemplate. Sunata dhareta charata dhamme. That's what the Buddha said. Listen and understand. Understand means bear it and practice it. Anicca, now you learned. This is not the first time you learned it. Today also you learned. Then bear it. That is, understand it thoroughly. Then you should be able to apply it to anything. Then keep applying it. Keep applying it. Until you realize it. Until you become anicca. At that time, you will think according to the theory of cause and effect. Then you won't have any problem anymore. All your problems will be sorted at that time. Just anicca is enough, ladies and gentlemen. Just anicca is enough. Let's apply it. We will help you. And when we meet, we will encourage you to do that. And if you can have noble association, that's the best. In your family, if you have that noble association, that's also good. Therefore, try to be a noble friend to your family members, your sons, daughters. Teach them. Because this is the best gift you can give them. You will realize that when you understand this. Perhaps that's why you always ask them to come to the monastery and learn and practice. But perhaps they won't understand. They won't understand because they want easy methods. But as parents, your responsibility is giving them the best. Therefore, keep trying. Help them to understand this. When you help them to understand, perhaps you will understand this. Let's work together. This is the enemy. I am not your enemy. I am not your enemy. This is the enemy. But I always tell you to do something. Listening is not enough. You need to practice. The ball is, you know the case. The ball is always in your court if you want to win the game. We'll see you next week. May the blessings of the Noble Tripharcham be with you all. Thank you.